Today I'm going to talk about the decision to transition, whether or not it's going to be medical or non-medical, if hormones are the right way to go, and also about counselling and talking to people and that decision of how to tell people that, you know, you're going to transition and there's going to be different things that are going to happen in the process going forward. Well, yeah, the decision to transition is a massive decision. I decided to transition later in life, my over 30 mark, so resources are a little bit complicated for older adults. You're more ingrained in the way you live, I guess. People know you as a certain name, gender, for countless numbers of years, and there's those things about what are my family going to think, how am I going to tell the kids, how is this going to impact work, my life. As a young person, it's just as hard, but I feel like there's not that real cemented, ingrained identity yet. And there's amazing non-profits like Rainbow Youth that are out there, like flying the flag for LGBTQI, takatāpui, intersex. Like they're doing amazing work, and there's unfortunately not enough funding. There's not enough money being spent on helping vulnerable populations of the minority within the minority. Transitioning, there's a lot of questions that are generally asked, like what does transitioning look like? Do I want medical intervention? Do I want to transition without? There is no right or wrong way to transition. Both are just as valid. For me, it was absolutely terrifying, the idea of going on testosterone. Over 30, I just restarted my life. I went back into university, so adult student. I had a lot going on. I did a lot of counselling with an amazing counsellor out at Outline. I've spent a lot of time in small little rooms contemplating and discussing what it would be like to transition. For me, I was more worried about the impact it was going to play on my family and their identity. They didn't like me very much as a lesbian, which is fair enough because I didn't like me very much as a lesbian either. It just never fit. It was just the only identity I knew because trans wasn't a thing. The decision to have testosterone for me, I got my appointment with Auckland Sexual Health. It was set. The week before, I pulled out. I was just like, nah, can't do it. I need to do some more work. I need to still look at why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is it right for me? And then I thought back to when I was younger, before I hit my first round of puberty. And it's like the things that were happening to my body were foreign. I didn't understand why I was growing breast tissue, why all these other things were happening, like hips widening. I was like, this is not my body. And I, from a very young age, felt alienated from myself. And I spent a long time using other things to cope. Drugs, alcohol, anything to numb that uncomfortable feeling. I had to do counselling and pulling apart what it was for me being a woman, what it was for me being a man. And then I realised there's no right or wrong way to be feminine or masculine. It's about being comfortable inside you, and by starting to get the outside matching what was going on in the inside has definitely improved my well-being, mental health. I can talk about feelings and emotions. I'm not using substances to cope with the pressures of everyday life. Oh, there's so many decisions you have to make before you jump into transitioning. I was terrified. I was about to turn what I knew upside down, but I never felt so safe in a decision that I've ever made in my life. Hormones are always a good time. I remember getting that first shot, and my first shot was not the way first shots go. I was prescribed half of a regular shot because you slowly ease onto testosterone. Unfortunately, I was accidentally given a whole shot in one go. And I'll tell you what, yeehaw! Like the throat started hurting, the voice started cracking, like ice cubes and lemonade ice blocks, totally my friend. Like I was just, it was actually quite a ride. And as the female hormones and stuff started slowly being taken over by testosterone, I started feeling more in my skin. And by in my skin, I mean more acne. Second puberty, when you're in your mid-30s going through puberty, no one understands. They don't understand the slight mood swings, the irritability, the nights where you're waking up with the cold sweats, because you're pretty much putting yourself into early menopause. So early menopause and puberty at the same time. Holy, I was quite a dick for the first year. Yeah, all my friends can attest to that. I was quite an asshole. But the way it affects people is different. Like, my hormones aren't the same as the next trans person. They might be doing less testosterone, more testosterone, a different type of testosterone. After a while, like, you'll be, if you choose to, you can chuck on a binder. Please, please, please use binders that are designed for binding. Don't use glad wrap, bandages. It's just not safe. It's not safe because you're technically you're compressing your chest and your spine together, and you are compromising your airway, as well as you can fracture ribs, you can cause bone deformity, and long term down the track, if having surgical intervention is what you wish to do, it can make the surgeon's job a little bit harder. Yes, socially transitioning is incredibly overwhelming. There's names, pronouns, labels. I had to find a way to just let go. It was about what made me comfortable, me relaxed. Just completely letting go of this preconceived idea that people fit in boxes. You have the female box, you have the male box. It's like, I don't kind of fit in either of those. I'm all over the place, and my gender expression from the early days was pretty androgynous, and I was okay with that. It did eventually get to the point where I started becoming more masculine, like jawline kind of hardening, shoulders getting a bit broader, muscle changing, fat shifting from my butt to my gut. That's definitely a trans guy problem. I'm still trying to work off the gut. But once those things started happening, I realized that, you know, I prefer male pronouns. I want to be called Josh, he, him. So surgical options, big topic. I've often had a lot of inappropriate comments of, have you had the surgery? One, what is the surgery? I've had more than I can count. And this curiosity with trans people, we're not something for you to be curious about. We just want to go about living our life in peace. I put a post on my Instagram that showed the progression and the photos of, I think over 4 years I had my chest reconstructed. The amount of tissue they removed from my body in the first surgery was, a good 2 kilos-ish. It was 5.5 hours, and the feeling of, once the stitches were dissolved and I wasn't being taped up all the time, just being free from this burden that was suffocating me. I was binding for 5 years. The joy about testosterone means that a little bit of the fatty tissue comes out of your breasts, so when you're binding you can lie them more flat. But I was my own worst critic. My chest was never flat enough. So second surgery, I had some of the scars touched up and a lot of tissue removed that we couldn't get in the first one. And then my final surgery was just to look at some scar tissue and then trim that all off. Once you get to the realization of, oh damn, I'm in the wrong body and this gender doesn't match who I am, then comes the panic mode of, what's everybody going to think? What do I do? Where to next? Who can I talk to? Who's safe? Who's not? Like I've said previously, organisations like Outline, Rainbow Youth, 1737, like calling those helplines, there's people there that can discuss all those major concerns that you have. And if I didn't have the support of my lecturers at university, I probably would have floundered and wouldn't have made 35. It would have been a statistic. Being trans does come with ups and downs, hard days, good days. There's still days where I look in the mirror and go, oh, I really don't like you. There's cognitive dissonance. It just doesn't match. What I see and how I feel, there's always this disconnect. And then other days, I'm completely in my body. I can relate to every single part of my body and everything is how it should be. And those are generally the days where I'm out in nature, because nature doesn't judge your gender. The Tāne Mahuta's sweet. Come in, have fun, take your rubbish with you, create memories. And that's probably the biggest thing that drives me to run around and do the activities I do, even though it comes with inherent risks. Because I only got one eye, because I have no balance and coordination or depth perception. Being male or female doesn't matter out here. It's about connecting with the earth and connecting with your tupuna and just being one and at peace with everything.